Couldn't see it. Looks like Shimmy X. Really appreciate that. Thanks for the follow. But yeah, I'll be going ahead and cutting this and uploading this to YouTube. This is supposed to be more impromptu. I'll get back into this and more used to it. So apologize for like any stuttering, whatever, going through this VoD review. But I'll be trying to do these bi-weekly, multiple times a week, hopefully. But for right now, I'm just going to be definitely doing probably one a week. Well, awesome, man. Really appreciate that. It's super cool for you to stop by. But yeah, like I said, I'll be doing a VoD review of EnvyUS versus FNRG, and then I'll be going into some rank slash just looking at the new patch, and that'll pretty much be the stream for today. I watched this match a little bit live, and I watched this match just a little bit last night and yesterday to kind of get refreshed for it, but I did want this to be not like scripted like it used to be for StratWatch, but just a bit more of like a review. So I will pause from here to there, but so already it's Control Center, tanks versus tanks, and pretty much Gamers Origin comps for both teams. And FNRG is able to get like the space out right. So right there, I don't know if it's worth going back, might as well real quick just to get in the habit of it. But they force EnvyUS back, right? Like EnvyUS is never able to get full control of the white room. And because the fact that they force the Rhine off to the side and right here, once they get funneled into that choke, it's always going to be like almost impossible in a mirror situation to win that, because the team that has the control of white room has more space to avoid spam and is now spamming into a corridor, so that's pretty straightforward. Just really well done by FNRG, playing more aggressive and getting into the face, and also just zoning back. Possibly some mistakes by Coco, but he also got knocked sideways, which is what opened up a lot of that pressure. But I'll go ahead and turn down the commentators a little bit more. I do want to have some game noises though, so let me know if audio balance is off, but I tested earlier and this seemed like it should be pretty good. Holding close. So this is exactly what you should be doing in this situation. I kind of feel like they should be committing a bit more to it. The thing is like, same principle as the white room right there, right? They hold a choke where they have more open space to dodge spam, and yet the other team is in a choke that's going to get spammed out. So when they fall back, they give up a lot of space into another choke, sure, but they have to make it all the way into main, and that's where Timey was able to get the pick. It ends up working out, and don't get me wrong, it's not the wrong play, but it's like you can't play the in-between ground here. You either have to camp right here at the spawn doors and have a really close hold, because you want to hold them into that door. You also have to worry about the far right entrance as well, but you can't do in-between. You can't hold at that pillar right here. You have to fall all the way back to point or hold in that room. So it was good that they moved quick enough, but still it opened up an opportunity for Taimu. That was a good pen and engage. Coco's going to also get the Ana off of this. I remember this. And Riptire is just a good ability right now. Yeah, a lot of these comps is just a lot of spam wars right now, and already with like the 4 kills going in the favor of EnvyUS, especially with the Ana going down and them still having chips up, they're going to be able to sustain this fight pretty easily. No game sound at all. Okay, I can turn it up a little bit. If that's, hopefully that's better. Like I said, this is a bit more of a test run. I apologize for it to be shaky and rocky and such. I'll be getting more back into the flow of this, doing this live as I do more. I just totally missed that team fight adjusting the sound. I apologize for that, but again, the biggest thing there is like twice, like the very first fight is so important on Koth, right? Because there's one, obviously you have ult advantages, which is just the inherent part of the game, right? If you win a fight, you're going to have ults, you're going to have that over the other team, but you're also usually going to have positional advantage on Koth, just inherently. And then comboed up with the fact that you're running spam comp into spam comp, the team that has the positional advantage is just a much bigger advantage, just inherently, because of the amount of pressure that you can put out. And also the snowball effect of Zarya, it kind of goes, okay, hopefully my turning it up helped a little bit. But yeah, Zarya is also another snowball hero. So when you're playing those comps, like the team to win the first fight is in just such a huge advantage. Not only because of the positioning, ultimates, we just went over that, but also the Zarya charge, right? She's just a snowball hero, and she gets really far ahead on energy versus the other Zarya. She's going to build ult faster, get more kills, and you're going to have a hard time. And then she can also save her bubbles a bit more defensively, rather than to farm for energy. Chips Really good pick there onto the Lucio. That's just a good charge shot spam. But see, here's EnvyUS getting more aggressive, right? With that pick, they force him back, and they zone up into the enemy team and prevent them from having any zone control. Like, that's one of the biggest mistakes you'll see from a lot of weaker teams and contenders, right? Is when they win a fight or when they get an advantage, they won't pressure up. They won't take advantage of that situation. Maybe a bit hesitant, scared, whatever it is. They don't want the fight to have any like blowback. But you need to get up and overwatch and contain and control space. It's really important. So EnvyUS should be able to hold this for the next fight or two pretty substantially with their ult advantage coming up. But Boink getting the pick onto Taimu, or they were able to section him off and take care of him. That was really good. Mickey trying to zone here and go a bit aggressive, but he gets sectioned off. And Muma, I guess Muma was off on the point alone. Oh, whoops. No, let me click here. Where did Muma end up dying? Yeah, Muma's off on the point alone, so just a bit of like lack of communication there. Either Muma should have been zoning near them during that time, or it should have been playing main with cool map, but he ends up going down alone on point, it looks like. And so it's going to make this fight really hard. Even though they got those picks, Taimu's going to be back as he is now. So, Bonnie gets his a bit later, and both teams are going to have Lucio beats here, so really comes down to a lot on the Diva Bomb here, and doesn't get too much value, but the rest of the ult, it does zone, right? And that's the big thing too. A lot of that beats value is negated just by the fact that they can't fight, they can't stand and fight in the middle of that, but I don't know, I don't feel like FNRG should have won that. I feel like there was a bit of mistakes there coming out from EnvyUS on the point. I didn't see it exactly. But given the fact that Muma got picked off really early in that fight, even though they got the 2 picks onto Mickey and Taimu, it shouldn't have mattered as much. They had double defensive to match. But Diva ult sectioned them off. Worked out pretty well. And Chips gets picked here, so this should be a reset pretty quick. So Clockwork going to stall the point. They sent both their tanks over. FNRG is getting really like split apart here. Like, I don't really like the way they played that out at all. They got really split up. Like from this point here, they have full control point. Ult situation is even. And they push up aggressively, that's fine. But then they lose the mech, which is awkward. They get the pick on the Zen, but then here Clockwork goes to stall on the point. Some of them went back to their main, is what it is. Like Bonnie's off in their main / backside of point, I believe, right now. And they're just like really split. Clockwork gets completely sectioned off here, isolated and taken out. Boink's now caught in the middle of garden by himself, and Buds is over here out. So they just got really split there. Like that is partially on EnvyUS playing it well. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it, Chrono. Yeah, I'm going to be uploading it to YouTube or clipping it to YouTube and stuff. And I'll be doing these more often. But yeah, FNRG got really split there. That must have been like a lack of communication there, just a lack of game planning coming out of them. Heavily split there. Impulse Bomb early pick's going to make this really, really hard for FNRG to even win this. Like, comparatively to the first map, they're just playing this much weaker. Dive-wise, like, they're much more comfortable on the other comp, at least perceptually, right? They will win this fight, though. So, that was well done by them. I didn't see the exact reason. One day I'll get good at balancing, looking at chat, and actually doing the analysis. Until then, guys, I apologize. But here we go. This is good setup, good default setup, and this is like, so this is something you can mirror in your cost setups too, for you just pugs, or if you're playing amateur matches, whatever. You really want to have your tracer pushed up like clockwork, and you want to have the rest of your team kind of sectioned off a bit when you're playing this kind of slow Korean, especially. The biggest thing right now is that clockwork can see all of the entrances that they're going to be going through, right? Oh, I can't see that. I need to make it bigger. But thank you very much for the follow. Ben. Let me go ahead and look this up real quick. It doesn't even... Oh, Benna, thank you very much for the... or Zero Benna, thank you very much for the sub. Or the follow, really appreciate that. But yeah, so if you have your tracer on this map specifically, right, she can see the main entrance, she can see the far right entrance, and she can obviously see through over these center jump ledge that like fairies, Genji, stuff like that can go through. But she can at least give that information so you can know, okay, they're going main, they're going far right. You can give that information to your team. They can pre-position for it, and they can absorb the engage, right? There is no world right now, as long as Clockwork is where he is, where Bonnie should get engaged upon without them knowing who and from where. So this is really good positioning. It's pretty basic at a very high-level competitive play, but I think it's something that a lot goes pretty under noticed in communication, or sorry, in commentary. So something you can definitely look to if you're a tracer player or you're playing Koth in ranked or amateur matches. Make sure your tracer's pushed up in information gathering, and don't let the other tracer do the same. They're able to get through main, straight on to point. Bonnie gets sectioned off by. I feel like I just spent this time saying they did it well. So they get into main. Clockwork's off dueling, or doing some pressure. Bonnie gets sectioned off and just deleted by effect, one clipped. I don't know. That was really interesting, right? Because the self-destruct goes off, you can't defense matrix, effect gets the one clipped, recalls out, and now it's a really awkward situation because Bonnie is the one that they were kind of relying on to ult through that. And they don't have the capability to do it now, so all that was good pre-setup from them. They really didn't handle that engage very well. Possibly a late Diva ult. I want to go back and watch that one more time real quick. Because I definitely feel like they should have won this, right? They have the position. One, I think they back up from the spam angle a bit too quickly. You kind of want to force them to go for it. You can speed out and disengage. They don't even let them engage on it. It's like they're scared of it. And then, yeah, like right here, Bonnie gets picked, right? Cool Mets can't defense matrix, yeah, and then that's just the fight. So yeah, that's basically what it is. That's kind of like the downside if you're a diva of using your, what do you call it, defense matrix or a diva bomb on point when your tracer is going on a Zen or anything like that. Right? Obviously, one effect is amazing, and that is a one clip during a diva bomb. Very cool, collected, very well executed. Two, though, it's just kind of a risk-reward thing. The Diva Bomb really doesn't get that much value. He expects it to zone them so that they could get better fight, but it ends up creating an opportunity for effect. So I'm not saying it's necessarily on cool Matt. I think the Diva Bomb was still fine. If anything, it's on the fact that they played so passively around the right side spam angle and backed off so quickly. They definitely could have speed boost out. It's a pretty long engage distance, so they have time to react and to work with. But yeah, it's just something to think about, the Diva Bomb Tracer Zen interaction there, where Effect had an opening that wouldn't have existed otherwise if Diva Mech was up, unless he was out of Matrix. But without a replay client, I can't confirm that, so I have to assume that he at least had some kind of defense matrix. Alright. So this is just Taimu doing work right now. I definitely remember watching this game live. So like this is just a pretty good 5-1 split as well. Very good flick onto Boink. Generally this right thing to do. Maybe not necessarily the Lucio solo, but getting Clockwork and Boink to go on him at the same time would have been ideal. Obviously it's Boink going in first and then Clockwork's a bit late to follow up, but this is after the picks have occurred. But just 5 heroes playing main, creating pressure over here on that pillar/garden area. And then the Widow being out, peeking late, causes them to be caught off guard. Very simple, clean execution on a 5-1 there. And now he's just always going to stay distance. This is something Taimu does very well, is he just plays good distance on fights with Widowmaker. It makes it really easy for his team to play off of him too, right? Because it's very simple in their book. They just have to create pressure going away from him, and then Taimu is just able to constantly provide this angle pressure and pick potential that they have to respect, and if they don't respect, then they will die. And see, even when they attempt to go on him, it's after so much pressure that has been created in the front line that it costs them a lot to even get the kill. Like, they can't even necessarily flip the point here. They have to go for a soft reset, and they go for the Dragon Blade, though. If I recall correctly, this Dragon Blade does not get that much value at all. Yeah, it doesn't. Harry Hook had a really good beat there. But yeah, they could have gone for a soft reset there and re-engaged since they did have the last pick, but they chose to go in immediately with the Dragon Blade, try to catch them off guard. But this should be, yeah, this should be FNRG taking it, if I recall correctly. I don't think they even need to use the trance here, as they did do a good job of at least like the Dragon Blade and the way they played it created pressure on point. They were able to sit on point and get cap time. Another small thing that happens a lot in higher level games you'll notice is when teams are fighting off of the point, especially when they're not in control, i.e. if FNRG did exactly what they just did off point, they wouldn't have been able to have the play that they just did, where they were able to slow win off of pressure on the point and getting isolated numbers and being able to get a few picks here and there. But going into this next fight, FNRG should be able to win pretty freely if they want to. They have the blade and they have the beat or the Transcendence, and that's a pretty much free wipe combo if they use it correctly. But very good job by EnvyUS, basically going for a soft jump here and then backing out. Of course it's Cardens though, so Lucio can always boop someone off. Chips goes flying. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Normally I really like tempo plays like this, don't get me wrong. I really like when teams go aggressive, when other teams are resetting. Because if you go aggressive on, I need to press this way. If you go aggressive while teams are resetting, then usually you'll catch them off guard. You'll get free kills. You'll probably get some ult charge on heroes. And obviously you buy time. It's an objective-based game. It's all about the time and the objective. That always has to be the core of strategy. Well, not always. You can go for deathmatch style strategies. But in this case, going aggressive is about buying time, getting the extra kills, and building the ult. The thing is, though, when they commit the Dragon Blade in this situation, you look at that last fight and you say that they secured 30%, but they used Trance and they used Dragon Blade at 2 different intervals. And the Trance really didn't do that much besides stop the soft engage, which they ended up backing out anyways. That was their goal, was to soft engage and bait the ult. Yeah, Boink gets the pick. That's important. That boop basically gets value out of the Trance. And then, on top of that, they go forward and they use the Dragon Blade and they get 2 picks. But now you fast forward 10%, EnvyUS really doesn't care. They're at 82%, and they just need to win one fight to win the game, basically. Because the next retake from FNRG is always going to be super staggered. So you have to wonder whether or not it was worth it for them to use both of those ults there, considering the fact that they're not going to have another reliable wipe combo coming up in a long time. Like, you can't really rely on D.Va Bomb to wipe people. You can rely on Winston ult to do at least 1 kill, 2 kills here on this map. But it's just a very interesting play in the heat of the moment made there by Buds. I personally disagree with it, but I do agree with the mentality where he's going aggressive to spawn camp. It's a very good way to go about it. Effect, though, it just plays out of his mind this series very well. Like on Gibraltar, when we get there later, he does so much work. I think there was a fight where he averaged like 4 to 5 picks every single fight, so very well done. Well, not every single fight, but it was pretty disgusting. It's going to be pretty disgusting. But yeah, like you look forward here and it's like, what does FNRG have to answer? Ult-wise, not much. And when the fight goes the way it does, was there a way? I wonder if there was a way for them to win this fight, given the fact that they used both those ults. Right as the fight's starting, they're close to the tank ults. Effect gets all the way around. This is probably the biggest issue, is Effect gets all the way around without them really knowing it, or at least without any pressure per se. Boink gets Taimu. Effect trades. It's probably this kill that's like the big turning one. Like, Effect is just doing so much work in this, and there's nothing to check them when Clockwork goes down. They don't have the defensive ults to stop these kills from going out. So, yeah, I mean, I do think it goes a bit back to that ult usage there. Like, you have to wonder what would have been the difference if they had a Dragon Blade for that fight, but he did get 2 kills, and he did stall an additional 15%, so it's like you have to weigh it out. And it's hard to say when you don't know both outcomes. But this should be relatively easy. even, sorry. They do have the Dragon Blade. They do have the Trance for this fight, but yeah, I remember this. Mickey gets a decent grab, or Diva Bomb. Taimu just absolutely pops off right here. Takes out the Dragon Blade off screen. Takes out Bonnie, sorry. And then they just push forward and win this fight. So that's pretty much that. I mean, again, so like the big thing for me, there's like FNRG's one really good map. They did an amazing job playing the spam comp comparatively to EnvyUS. Like as far as forcing them back, sorry, I forgot that they do this. Really good job on control center there. Again, it's all about creating the pressure so that you can assume the position advantage when you're in spam versus spam. Because the team with less position in spam versus spam is always going to lose, or at least should always lose, because they're going to be under more spam. They don't have the ability to move out of it. Usually they're going to be caught in a corridor when they're at positional disadvantage, and it's just going to be a really rough time. But then from there on out, it seemed like a lot of some lack of coordination or game planning from FNRG almost, or just heat of the moment mistakes coming out. Like they definitely could have won both of those maps, I think, given a few different plays. It is again interesting that their backline backed off so much on Night Market there. And then that whole Bonnie Diva Bomb combo comes in, and that's kind of where they lose Night Market. And again, the whole Trance Blade situation, they get relatively little value out of the second set in the overtime situation, but maybe could have had better value and created a more hectic last fight for EnvyUS. But that's how it goes. Again, going forward, if you guys have any questions about the games, plays, anything like that, feel free to answer. That's part of the reason that I wanted to start doing these live, as well as like eventually get back into making strat watches. If you guys have any questions, and if you're watching the YouTube VoD, you want to ask any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. But yeah, if you guys feel free to ask, and I'll definitely try to get in your questions and answer them best I can during these VoD reviews. But yeah, this was a pretty good map. This one ends up going all the way to Time Bank, so this is a pretty good one. Something that's interesting about these setups is that it should be really hard for these tank comps to be working as effectively as they do. On first point, obviously it's tank versus tank, so it's different. But in a world where one of these teams was able to play, or was playing dive and spreading around on the high grounds, it would have been interesting to say the least. But as it stands, Envy is pretty much playing the same defense they had been the previous patch, and FNRG is going basically with the Gamers Origin comp. I mean, that's what EnvyUS is playing right now, but Junkrat instead of Doomfist for FNRG. And pretty standard execute there for tanks. To go through the hotel, try to get some space. But now they're just fighting around statue, trying to win the spam war. Their goal is to get Coco very low, or Coco's barrier low, so that they can push forward and create space. And that seems to be working out pretty well so far for them, as they are winning the spam war, right? The Effect has to be getting picks here, is basically what it comes down to. If Effect isn't getting enough picks in these fights, then eventually the just throughput damage from FNRG is going to win in these fights. Excellent play from Bonnie there as well to get the sleep, stay alive. It's a little bit harder than it looks in the moment. I mean, hitting the sleep dart, not as difficult, but avoiding that ult, staying alive, keeping your team alive, not an easy task. So, I was just overall pretty good execution by FNRG, but again, I do think it has a fair bit to do with the composition that we're seeing from EnvyUS, right? They just don't have, right now, a relatively effective compositional answer to this Junkrat spam. They switch Mickey to the Diva, and that's kind of half of the equation that they end up going for later on in the match, because they end up using the double absorb between the Diva and the Zarya to really just negate the spam, put Taimu on a soldier, and just put out pure damage. And kind of win the wars that way, via sustain versus the spam. So this is a really good play by EnvyUS as well. And this kind of goes back to the same thing, or I was talking about Buds going aggressive with Dragon Blade, right? Tempo switches or hard engages and aggressive plays by the defenses is something that's really undervalued. in a lot of games, because right now it's like, yeah, they're getting pushed back, but they forced a lot of time out. Muma used Azure Shatter, didn't get really that much value out of it. They really didn't commit too much, right? Like, they just committed Nano and they just committed Deadeye, and that was it. But the thing about Nano is it charges pretty much instantaneously. And Grav Tire combo, very well done. And that's pretty much going to be the end of the Streets phase there. Yeah, like right now, it's so awkward for EnvyUS to do anything against this comp, because they can't engage in with the heroes they have. If the Ryan goes in, he dies. If Effect gets too aggressive, he probably dies. Taimu's trying to poke and do as much damage as possible, but it's not really like doing a whole lot, because what follow-up is there? Like, how do they finish kills if he dinks at once and they back off? There isn't really much potential for that. So their comp is just kind of in an awkward position. This is why they'll go to the Zarya on offense, is because it answers a lot of those issues. Coco can now play a lot more aggressive. They have a damage tank that can actually control a lot of the fight against this Junkrat, against this McCree, and also just the Graviton being very effective against that team, right? They have no D.Va to absorb it, and I mean, you can't beat through a D.Va bomb. Right, so if you use the bigger bang combo more effectively, or you just use the High Noon, they do switch to the Soldier, so it's a bit inert here, but High Noon is another good option. But it's just so hard to win fights when you're playing against a spam comp is like a tank comp that isn't built to deal with it. Now, you could go two directions against spam comp. You can either hard engage them and just get in their face, play against basically dive, or you can go for the tank style that EnvyUS will go for. So, good job here. High Noon, zoning, forces a lot of resources. And then they pretty much just clean it up. They did invest a lot of ults out of this though, but I mean, again, they did take care of the beat, they did take care of the blade. And so this puts them in a pretty good spot going into last year. The ult economy is going to be nice for them. The Graviton was used pretty recently, but the Graviton's going to be charging really fast. And they can do a lot with this if they play it correctly. Taimu's Deadeye, though, could make a lot of difference if he uses it during the Graviton correctly. Thing is, though, is they have the tire to non-committally blow up in the Grav. And this is just good play from Buds, too, with the tire. I've seen a lot of Junkrats lately just kind of use the tire to use the tire. Once they lose... Buds, Coco pushes forward, gets a great Earth Shatter behind Muma. And that's a pretty straightforward play. You're just having your Lucio speed boost you in, calling for it, going past Ryan Barrier, pressing your Q button, trying to land it as many as possible. But good patience here from FNRG. They didn't use any ults at all. They didn't waste any. And they will take out Muma with the High Noon. I remember the tire just kind of... He missed that. He was probably like, no, please. No, okay. Oh, no, it blew up. But yeah, now the Grav doesn't get that much value, so that's a bit awkward, unfortunate. But Junkrat, throwing damage out, gets kills, because that's how that hero works right now. It's pretty insane what he does in this patch. It'll be interesting to see what this new patch does to it. But that was pretty well played by them, by FNRG. They really only committed 2 ults total? 3 ults, sorry. They also committed the Nano, but they did a pretty good job considering the fact that they just played up against a Shattered, D.Va Bomb, High Noon from earlier, and a Nano Boost. They've only used 2 ults in the last 2 fights. Sleep onto D.Va Mech and a High Noon. Pretty standard combo there as well. When you're not going to get value out of your High Noon, the D.Va's forced to go into you because of the defense matrix. And then you just sleep her from the side and blow her mech up. Yep, and then Buds gets a huge rip tire. So it's just really well mechanically played. Like, the tank play coming out from FNRG is very solid, comparatively to their dive play. Like, you can definitely see the level of non-communicated plays that are going on, I guess is the way to say it, right? Like, yeah, they're probably communicating some of these plays, but a lot of these are just setups that they're used to, right? Like, again, D.Va pushes into Clockwork because he has High Noon up. Bounty comes from the side, sleeps him, free D-Mech. Super simple, execute there, and they always get the D.Va Mech out of that. Stuff like that Their grav combos, buds, pretty effective at never using tire outside of grav except when it was called for. And I really like that. But this is where EnvyUS is going to change up the comp a bit, and this is where you're going to see it be a lot more effective here. Also, the other nice thing about the Zarya against the Gamer's Origin setup, or the McCree plus, well, I guess either Doomfist or Junkrat at this point, but probably Junkrat's just stronger, is that the bubble also prevents the flashbang plays that can come out when you're playing McCree, right? Because you can't flashbang a Rhine Shield when the Rhine's bubbled. And as long as your Zarya is communicating well, or you're communicating well through Zarya, you can pretty much always negate that play. So I like this setup a lot more. It's stable, it's stock, it's something that was played a lot back in the day. But it works really, really good against spam comps because the D.Va can absorb damage, the Zarya can absorb damage, the Rhine can absorb damage, and the Zarya gains damage from absorbing damage. So just inherently the way the whole setup ends up going down makes it really good to deal with this kind of tanky spam comps that have been coming out lately. It's just this comp is incredibly, like, the issue is that tank comps are weak to dive comp when played properly on certain maps. King's Row is actually one of them because if I pause it, like right here, the other option that EnvyUS has is playing a dive setup where they spread the map, and this is something that Cyclones did really well. United used to do really well. Rogue used to do very, very well, and I say used to because not every team is going for these kind of strategies anymore, and they don't always work. But the big thing is double, triple DPS. You generally want a soldier. If you get up that far right alley to the right of Chips right now that goes up to that mini health pack on near the clock tower, there's that landing. If you get a soldier set up there, you get your tracer set up there, you slow rotate your flex support up there if you want to, and then you get in the situation where you can have them up at the apartment window, you can have one at the clock tower, and you can have one out by statue. And then the tank team is kind of forced in this awkward spot where they have to fall back on to hotel to your left, where to the left of the Rhine's barrier. And then they're kind of forced to either retake around the side of statue or retake through main. But either decision they make, they are under spam and under positional disadvantage. And that's kind of like just the whole goal of dive. And that's one of the big reasons why tank was phased out the second the dive became stronger, or people started playing dive and figured out the proper way to play split. And they just kind of create a neutral peel, meaning whenever they're aggressed upon, they kind of fall back a bit. They might push forward, but they're never engaging. It's all about doing a bit of damage, falling back, or pushing forward a little bit, and creating neutral advantages in positioning. And that's basically what dive would do here. So that's the other big option. It probably still exists in this next patch, especially with D.Va being where she's at. You can just fire rockets from a million miles an hour, or a million miles away, and just do half of Anna's HP with a rocket barrage, basically. A mini firecracker barrage is basically what it is. But we'll see. Yep. So I should probably go back and talk about that fight. Sorry about that. I got distracted with the dive. But now y'all have a reason to look at dive on King's Row if you're not already playing it. Again, with the patch today, who knows how it's going to go, but the effect of a high charge Zarya, basically. Muma barely wins that duel against Coco, but it won't end up mattering. They've already lost both supports on the defensive side. Effects 70 energy, pretty much full charge, and he can just pretty much delete anyone he wants to, and he can fry the D.Va out of suit. So here's the situation with an FNRG compositionally now, right? They have to be swapping to Zarya, but they almost need to keep the D.Va because now they can't win the spam war. And I'll try to make this really quick. When you're playing triple tank with double absorbers, meaning like D.Va, Zarya, I guess there really isn't another absorption tank. There are barrier tanks, but not any more absorption tanks. So those two tanks uniquely, absorb damage, and that means that your team doesn't take it. It's not like barrier damage, where barriers will eventually die. It's damage that's pretty much negated. Zarya's a little in between barriers, so whatever. Point is, though, is that both of them absorb damage. Zarya takes that and turns it into energy and damage. Whereas you look at FNRG, they're going to be putting out a fair bit of damage, of course, between the McCree, the Zarya, and the Junkrat spamming, but not all of that is going to connect, and so their effective DPS is much lower, whereas the effective DPS of Taimu is going to be really high, because he's going to be able to non-stop shoot. Barrier is going to be shredded from Muma between the Zarya, between the D.Va, between the Soldier, if the D.Va's not already absorbing damage coming into Coco's barrier. And so they're always going to be pressured back. And if they're always pressured back, then we talked about it earlier on Lijiang Tower at Control Center, you can't have a spam comp and be pressured back. You need to be holding positional advantage, keep them in chokes, and be able to spam out and win that way. So that's kind of like the core, at least the way I see it, the core reason why you're going to see this comp just absolutely floor, in some senses, the comp that FNRG is playing. While FNRG may win some fights along this defense, it's not like they're ever going to regain full momentum and threaten a hold. But like here, right? Like, what do they do against this Visor? If their Ryan is down, or Bubbles are down, and Ryan's down, then they have to just run. And if they have to just run, they've now surrendered position advantage to an EnvyUS, and that, even if, I'll go ahead and focus on this, but that was just very good bait and switch there. Very well done. Push up aggressively, deal damage, put them under pressure, spam, fall back into a quick counter engage, and you'll probably catch them walking up the ramp under speed boost together, trying to get to cart to get the next fight. Very clean play, makes it one fight, and that was just really smart shot calling or fight calling coming out from whoever communicated that strategy right there, or that tactic. But yeah, even if spam is doing a lot of damage, if they're at a positional disadvantage, the other team isn't going to be taking any of that effective damage. And then again, combo that up with the fact that a lot of it's getting absorbed. How much effective spam damage is actually going out right now from FNRG? Minimal, comparatively to the amount that's coming out from EnvyUS. Earthshatter hits 1 or 2. Nano Boost will help finish up Coco. But just the ult usage here is just so ineffective, and you can see already they're playing it pretty well, EnvyUS against the grab. They're ready for it, they play really spread. Taimu falls really far back. Those who are on cart and getting ignored stay on cart. They will go ahead and lose this fight. It was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ult investment coming out of FNRG. And naturally speaking, if you're going to devote 4 or 5 of your ults to a fight and you don't win it, that's a huge issue. So FNRG should be winning that fight 9 times out of 10. But again, the good thing about EnvyUS, right, is they made it one fight now. That previous bait and switch play we talked about just before the last, now they only have to win one fight. They're in a really good position time bank-wise. This Deadeye is going to be pretty much useless because Mickey does a really good job of getting into his side. And note, he gets bubbled this time. I'll go ahead and highlight that real quick. Pay close attention to Mickey. What happened last time that he went into go zone, the Deadeye? He got slept from the side. Popped out a mech. Not good. This time, bubbled. Can't happen. So adaptation is occurring, which is really good. There, that's just that's what you expect to see from a world-class team like EnvyUS. They figure out what's not working or figure out issues in the middle of the game and they adjust accordingly. And they're gonna win this fight pretty handily. High Noon gets no value. They only use 1 ult or 2 ults, sorry, the Beat and the Visor. And now they have a whole swarm of ults going into the next one. And they have multiple strategies to think about, right? They have Shattered D.Va Bomb. They have Grav D.Va Bomb. They have Nano into Shatter into Rhine. So, or Nano into the Rhine into Shatter into lots of damage. So they have options, right? They can kind of feel out the fight and they can make the best choice possible. Good spread, but they immediately counter engage here, catching 4, and then they go for the D.Va Bomb. Just very good execution. Very simple. Pin the Rhine, grab the rest, or, well, grab them all, pin the Rhine, throw the D.Va Bomb. Yeah, it was very well done. That was mostly on effect in Coco, but very well done nonetheless still, of course, by all members involved. So now this is just a horrible spot to be in as FNRG. They basically have to defend the cart while Taimu can just sit up here for free cast, deal tons of damage, ends up dropping down though, dies to Muma. Bit awkward there, unfortunately, and then the grab will go ahead and clean him up. I don't think he needed to jump down there. When I was watching that, I felt a little bit weird about it. I think his main thought was that A, I could get grenaded, and B, I'm not on a clear LOS to my support. But if that's the case, then maybe he should have just sprint jumped straight forward a little bit farther away from the Rhine. Because the way it ends up going is he takes a swing on the way down, and then he takes a swing when he gets into his healing station. And it's just, you're dead. Don't have the HP to survive that. So, interesting decision there in the middle of the fight. Pulse bomb slightly off the mark, but doesn't matter. That's why you shoot the grav. A lot of teams will be scared when they're using grav. But here's the thing, right? You see the entire team of EnvyUS is surrounding the grav. This is a mark of a team that knows how to play around Graviton a lot better than a team that, obviously isn't. One, FNRG is grouped. So it makes it easier, but they naturally have to be because the card's at the end. But look at their positioning, right? Taimu, Harry, Effect, Mickey, Chips, very well spread. And who's sitting dead center with his barrier up against the grab for a bit and then going to swing in? Coco. And if you notice, he'll get one swing here and then fire. Oh no, he just fire strikes. Never mind. He's just barrying to block. So, my bad. My bad. Coco's just barrying to block there farther back. But still, fire strike, pen. But that positioning again, it's very awkward to watch a team get a huge graviton, and then I'll stand in like a semicircle around it. You want to collapse on a full circle when you get a huge grav, because you want to make it so that even when they come out of the grav, they're surrounded. They have to look all the way around. Even if they survive this grav and all 6 members come out, I'm going to pause it one more time and then I'll stop pausing it. But right here, you can even see Mickey go straight over. If they come out of this grab all live right now, who do they go on? And whoever they go on, that person falls back, disengages hard, and the rest claps in, and you're surrounded. No matter what move you make, you're in a situation where you either collapse on one side, and you're going to be hit hard from the opposite, or you all spread out and try to take duels, and if any of you lose those duels, well, it's over. So that's why you always want to surround gravitons. There's very, very few situations where you don't want to surround a grav. And honestly, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Even if the Rhine had Earth Shatter, you'd still want to surround the grab, because surrounding it makes it so only one person gets Earth Shattered. If you're all stacked behind your Rhine barrier, and that Rhine barrier breaks because all the team shoots out of the grab in one direction, and then they Earth Shatter you, or your Rhine swings or fire strikes, and you all get Earth Shattered, then GG anyways. So I think there's almost no reason, except if it's up against a wall, to be full surrounded on the team while the grab is out. But so far, this is just a pretty masterclass play here from EnvyUS. It's definitely a close match, but you can see the level of thought that goes into their game comparatively to the other team right now. FNRG is definitely doing a lot and has a lot of plays, but EnvyUS just every step of the way through either has an individual play that's communicated and backed up, or they have some sort of preset play that they all follow through with and are effective with. So we'll see. They come with their own triple tank comp here. Remember this? You can see the emphasis on controlling the high ground from EnvyUS because of the tracer. You wouldn't run the tracer here if you were going to be playing just close main, but because you're running the tracer, you're really emphasizing maintaining high ground control with the soldier. You want to be able to contest any threats to the soldier. At least that would be the reason that I'd be running it. And if they have a different reason, I'd be really interested to hear it. But that would be the most logical to me. So once the offense gets the first picks or two here on King's Row, it's always going to be a bit awkward for the defense. You're going to get surrounded. Nano Boost does a lot on Mickey, however, though. He just does a ton of damage. He gets his grab charged up. I don't remember how FNRG actually ends up winning this fight. They're in such a bad ult situation. Pick by Cool Matt. So that's pretty important. They're going to boost. Yeah, that's probably it right there. That's probably the biggest reason. That was a 5-man grab, no? I believe that was a 5-man grab. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So, beat really well timed by Boink as well. Another small thing that probably doesn't get noticed as much in commentary. Lucios who beat immediately into Grav are doing it wrong. Unless you know that the Tracer's going to go straight in and pulse bomb immediately, you always want to beat when he's coming in or towards the last seconds of the Graviton. Because you want the beat to get destroyed by the Tracer bomb so you're all at max HP. Otherwise, you're letting the pulse bomb do effective HP or effective damage to your HP pools rather than padded damage, which is coming from the sound barrier. And they end up losing the fight right after this. Yeah, that was just really awkward with the effect. They pick on effect, man. Like they would have won this on first point, right there. Or at least like held FNRG if it wasn't for the pick onto effect. Good old usage, or at least FNRG's kind of forced into that situation. I don't like the way Clockwork's playing this right now, personally. I guess his goal is to just hide in behind cart, and they're going to push cart forward using it. Just get as much space as possible. Ooh, he had 1/2 second there to pick off the soldier, but he's not going to be able to do it. Soldier stays alive, and then this is where they win the fight, if I recall correctly. Time move flanking. Trade there. But yep. There's no hero better in this situation than probably Reaper in this kind of like 3v3, 2v2 clutch situation. The self-healing, the huge burst damage. That's just a really nice set of heroes too, right? Incidental healing coming out of the Lucio, so bit of serendipity for EnvyUS as far as the 3 heroes left, but well played by them overall. But that is probably the 3 heroes you would want alive, most likely, if you had a 3v3 clutch. It's just a really nice setup. And if you ever needed to ult, right, you do have a pretty disgusting triple set of ults there if all 3 of them need to back each other up. So this has definitely been a much more enjoyable game to watch than the Lijiang Tower. The second 2 maps were just a bit of unfortunateness. And again, none of this I want to come off as like dogging on the players and stuff. Like, you always have to remember that it's really easy to sit here and look at what's going on in hindsight and say that that was wrong, this is right. When you put yourself in the heat of the moment, you have a lot of decisions and a lot of unknowns. And I think that's the part that a lot of people just forget about, is that the lack of information you have when you're actually in the game. There's plenty of times in pugs people get caught off guard by a tracer flanking because nobody communicated it, yet then when you watch it in a pro match, you're like, oh, they should have seen that tracer coming. And it's like, yeah, but maybe something else was going on with the support, didn't properly communicate it, situation snowballs. So I feel like that's a lot of what was going wrong with their dive, just a lack of execution and team understanding of each other with their dive comparatively to their tank play. But once again here, they're going to go for the exact same comp, but this time they're going to go for, well, not the exact same comp, they're going to go for a much more of a frontline abusing. And this is a blend of both of the ideas real quick. If you put together the idea that the tank comp that EnvyUS is running decreases the amount of effective damage that the spam comp from FNRG is going to be able to do, or the tank spam comp that FNRG is going to be able to do. You also take the idea that I said earlier, when you're playing spam versus spam, you want to be the ones that are getting more aggressive. You want to push back the other spam comp into a position in which you can have spam advantage, position advantage, put them into corridors. Well, if you take a comp that's good at absorbing damage, Zarya, D.Va, Rein, and Ana with good throughput, and you put them together versus a spam comp, and you put a Reaper inside, and you hit W and you go forward, what does the spam comp do? For 3 seconds, Junkrat does nothing, McCree does nothing. Then you bubble up the Rein, you pin engage, and you run forward with Zarya with personal bubble. Meanwhile, Taimu is just doing whatever the hell he wants, shooting everyone with shotguns and healing up a little bit off of that damage. So it's kind of a nice blend of those ideas, and I really liked this when I saw it. So definitely something to look out for going in the future when teams play spam comps. Like, either A, this comp is going to be very common counter, or B, this comp is going to be much more standard than just some sort of counter comp. It's going to become a more standard comp. But I mean, like, look at this, right? Effect is just insane amounts of energy right now. Literally at 100 for a few seconds. And he's just going to do insane amounts of damage. Charges a grab in 40 seconds. And they just clean it up. And that's really the effect of playing aggressive as well. I think it is something that is massively undervalued in the current meta and a lot for some of these teams. Like, at least the weaker teams for sure. So... Again to this tempo switch idea. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about this push here, or this engage here. They want to make 2 fights. That's 100% their plan. So they have to. But the way they go about it, I feel like it's very half-hearted. Like they're scared to lose a bit here. Like Muma goes in, pins, gets nano boosted, and then so they do, and they get Coco. But then what happens to Muma? This nano boost doesn't do anything. They lose their mech. They get Diva out of suit. They trade Divas, but like, look at the ult investment wise, right? None. So from EnvyUS rather. So I think that was just really a lack of follow-through coming out of FNRG. Like, that was so half-hearted that it just doesn't do anything. That was a pretty solid air shatter onto the pick into effect. The tire. And then I do remember them ending up holding this here. But, like, go back a moment and ask yourself why 1 or 2 of those ults and that play wasn't committed when they nanoed Muma. Because they were already planning on going aggressive. They wanted to get 2 fights. They would have probably had the cart right here where Effect is standing. Somewhere about right here. And maybe they still don't get 2 fights. But sure as hell they have at least a better chance than they did in the world where they kind of half-hearted committed. So if that was supposed to be a soft engage, then Muma overcommitted and it's his fault. If it was supposed to be a hard engage, then the rest of the team really left Muma out in the dust there a bit. And they should have probably pushed a bit more aggressively. And that doesn't mean that all heroes have to like straight walk into them, right? Being aggressive can also be positional plays. Like Clockwork could have flanked around the left side of bar to where Chips just got killed by Muma, or Muma just died. He could have flanked over here, up onto the high ground. He could have gone into the window. He could have also flanked over to the far right side, where the orientation is right now, around the right side of bar towards the subway. There was just a lot of different ways that they could have played that out, but as it was, I don't really agree with that play out of the decision there. I think the decision is fine, but the way they end up getting to that decision, I feel, or the way they ended up executing that decision is pretty weak. So I feel like a bit. I'm not going to try to dwell on this too much. This is probably the point in the series where you're going to see FNRG get a bit weaker as far as maybe mental state goes. After the last 2 maps, they're probably feeling a bit like they should have won these. They're not, they made some mistakes, definitely mistakes that are not characteristic of the players or of their average play. And if they wouldn't have made those mistakes, they probably would have won the map. So it's going to be a bit harder for them to collect themselves going forward here, but I don't like the way they end up playing this either. And I'll get to the first fight when it gets here. But they end up going for an engage strat after they go for this split strat. So this is pretty standard. Like the commentators said, get your soldier up on the high ground, work around, right? But now here's like the core plan, right? Is A, they're going to get their soldier and their Zen set up on the opposite high ground of the mega pack that's hacked. And then they're going to hard engage into the mega health pack. However, when this strategy is normally executed, you'll have the Ana on your team instead of the Zen. So their goal is to abuse the effect of the Discord and the soldier. Okay? So right here as they're going in, sorry, I will do my best to pause it. They have the D.Va, they have the Lucio, and they have the Monkey engaging, going on to health pack, trying to get the kills onto health pack, create opportunities for Bonnie and Buds to get picks and kills. That's fine. Overall, that's an alright strategy. But when you look at what EnvyUS is doing in the general Sombra strats, I don't like it as much as a hard engage into Mega. There is, at least in the EU scene, it's been more done. I cannot recall off the top of my head any teams that do it that have done it on contenders, but I know it has been done. Same strategy, except for you have your soldiers solo flank out to that high ground after you engage 5 into this room with your Ana. The benefit is that you can animate all the targets so they can't pick up health packs. You can finish off the kills a lot more effectively. And you ultimately will probably build Ana boost pretty quickly with this strategy if it's pulled off effectively. But again, you deny the entire effect of, hey, let's chill in this room with a mega health pack that regens super fast. Because all of us are debuffed now by an Ana. You just have to get it through the defense matrix and Mickey. The other part that I really don't like is when I play it out here, you'll notice, one, the clockwork goes all the way through, but they're not really fighting on point, right? Like, they're fighting over here to this right side. This is where clockwork's going to be, this is where Muma's going to be, and now they're going to jump back down. But they never get onto point. It's not until this point, 10-20 seconds in, that Muma actually gets onto point, and by that point, Taimu's able to wrap around and get back on his own high ground off the pressure. Now they're in a really awkward spot. So again, if you're going to go for this amount of a hard engage, and try to isolate your Zen and Soldier to get that spam, then why not do it with an Ana? First of all, if you're going to do the hard engage element. But second of all, why even do the hard engage element if that's what you're going to do? Why not push them off of the right side, get set up, and then just engage point and play point? You either feed them EMP and go for point control, which is kind of what the strategy of FNRG should be doing, or B, you hard engage into them with the Ana, and you try to outright negate the effect of the Sombra, and try to get your success via that way. So it kind of feels like they just went for something in between, where Bonnie and Buds do end up coming and fighting with them, but there's no Ana nade to equalize the situation. It's literally even-footed, and that's not what you want when you're standing over a hacked Mega. So now the rest of these fights are going to end up being a bit awkward. Unfortunately, Clockwork misses this pulse bomb. Would have been actually pretty huge if he would have stuck it on the Lucio, as you can see. Doesn't have ult. Chips wouldn't have been able to save him. Potentially, if he still gets the stick onto Chips, they'd probably kill Harry Hook anyways, but you never know what ends up happening with that specifically. But again, I just really didn't like the way they played this out on the first push, and it really hurts them. So there's the whiff pulse bomb, unfortunately. And now Clockwork's zoned out. Can't really do much. Gets taken out by Taimu. And that's functionally going to be a reset because they don't have any pressure on the backline anymore. But they do go ahead and commit here. Get relatively minimal value. Because at the same time, right, Energy's been saving up their ults. They've banked up a bunch. And Taimu does end up EMPing here on top of the last bit of the barrier, but mainly hitting Clockwork and I think 2 other heroes. And that pretty much cleans it up. So again, a lot of this for me just comes down to I don't get FNRG's playbook here. I feel like they're doing 2 things at the same time and not committing to one. So I think a middle to one would be really good. I think EnvyUS' setup is obviously very strong, and I haven't even touched on that. The way they play it, the way they're re-wrapping, very intelligent. Taimu is constantly, or sorry, not Taimu, Effect is constantly rotating around to where where he's not being pressured to get free damage in. They're abusing the health pack very effectively, as you would expect. And then overall, they're pressuring back the engage so that they can't freely cap point. And if Mickey just does a good job also finishing off Muma this entire series, something probably worth pointing out as well. I mean, D.Va does have a very naturally good matchup versus Monkey. It's a shotgun hero versus a huge hitbox Monkey. D.Va can shred him, so... But yeah, that's just unfortunate. A bit coming out from FNRG. Really interesting way to go about their strategies there. Personally, again, I didn't really like it. I feel like the way they just went about that was really awkward. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I kind of beat it into the ground already. You either hard engage with Ana, or you play hard poke game, possibly feed EMP, but capture point is kind of like the goal. But honestly, to kind of finish on that point, I don't think that FNRG strategy should work at all in hindsight, and I kind of feel like I was being an idiot for not pointing this out. They're symmetrically countered by the fact that the Zen soldier on the other side can apply the same exact pressure that the Zen soldier from the offense can. So by playing Zen soldier versus Zen soldier Sombra, I don't think you give yourself any unique advantage compositionally or strategically. I think you honestly put yourself in a position where you're inherently going to be fighting uphill, because you're going to have positional disadvantage. You always have the engage disadvantage with the MP, and you always have the HP disadvantage because you cannot access freely the health packs, or at least reliably. You should never expect to. So I really do think that if you're going to be going against the strategy, you either got to counter Sombra, which I think is honestly a bit weaker than just playing straight up Ana. I think Ana is probably the most stable, effective way to do it. Maybe even like Ana Hog, just get in there, pop people, hook them, blow them up, done. Ana Reaper Hog, maybe even. You could get both the tanks just desuited and blown up real quick. There's some options there. But at the end of the day, you either need to be playing to spread them out and poke them apart, which is going to be unreliable and generally ineffective, or you need to hard engage into them and abuse the fact that they want to stack in a room with a Mega. And if they don't, then they're not using the Sombra, and then they're not getting EMP. So you need to get value out of that by capping point and forcing fights. Which is where the Hog, I think, would be uniquely powerful, right? Because Hog has this nice ability as being a fight tank of being able to force fights when fights aren't going the way he wants them to, or when they aren't occurring where he wants them to. Hook is an amazing ability to do that. So pretty amazing there. All right. Oh, I wish I could. I can't edit out the center, can I, on Twitch clips? I don't know if I can cut the center out. I was going to maybe take a break real quick, top off my coffee, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I'd rather make sure the video is just straight together, make it easier. So, also apologize for that noise. Alright. Girlfriend just got home from classes, so garage door is pretty loud. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and back up because about that, guys, I'm sorry. I got really distracted there. I was not at all thinking or talking about the game. Yeah, we'll go ahead and start off from here. So, again, same thing. 1 second, actually. Alright. Sorry about that, guys. So, yeah, same thing from EnvyUS here. Generally, at least the strategy they're going for. But they're much more committed to it. Also, having the Genji, I think, is pretty nice comparatively to the setup that they're running with the Tracer. Genji has a bit more poke damage from distance, obviously, with no fall-off, projectiles, etc. It does have a bit of the same engage potential. The biggest thing that he doesn't have is as much reliable target finishing, and as well as reliable self-sustain going off on his own comparatively to a Tracer. So, but early EMP, Chips gets deleted. Very good job, and FNRG playing around the Sombra very well. They immediately get EMP, they go aggressively, create tempo, and try to get EnvyUS on the back foot as soon as possible. But the nice thing that EnvyUS is allotted here is because of their defense, they only have to take 33%. They can always just build up 6 ultimates and go for the cleanest fight possible. Bait EMP, fall off the cliff, reset, go in, 6 ults, and win the fight. It's something that Cloud9 used to do, the NA team, not the Laser Kittens team, but the NA team back in the day. They used to do really well, especially on the Take TV time. when Sombra first started, well, not first, but was, recognizably oppressive in the Western scene. They were very good about just dying and getting off the point immediately, and not doing any damage to feed the next EMP is also the critical part. So they're just trying to zone control onto the right side. It looks like they didn't like the left side because of the way that the EMP engage can work, and I agree with that. They trade off the Genjis. Trance was used by Chips, didn't get that much. Beat still available from Harry Hook. Effect gets hacked, so he's not going to be able to do anything. And I don't think that they don't commit anything more to this fight. They're just going to call it good. They did get out self-destruct. They did get out beat. They did get out... oh, no, that's right. That's right. They end up clutching this. That is right. That is right. Beat. And then Buds gets shut down here after he gets the pick onto Taimu. Good boop by Harry Hook. Just boop, speed boost away. Effect cleans up Coolmat and Buds. And once again, Effect just does work. Nope. So, really well played there by EnvyUS. And now we get on into Gibraltar. So I kind of like the way that EnvyUS played this first point, but at the same time, I really think that FNRG could have ended up either comping this a bit better. Like right here, I don't know that Coolmat necessarily needs to be playing Roadhog. The thing is the way I see their comp right now, again, FNRG is kind of like an in-between comp. They have, obviously, the Widow, long range, she's good on this map in Gibraltar in general. So it's like kind of like just good map, good hero in general. That's fine. The Hog, all about playing cart, getting picks, maybe flanking around on this map as well on offense. But again, more to this idea of hard pushing cart and being able to just clear people on cart, get picks, and gain ground that way. Supports, pretty standard, not a big issue. You look at the rest though, Muma and Clockwork, and you see a dive setup, where their main goal is going to be looking to maintain cat control, to spread out, get picks, open up opportunities to collapse on cart, and have numbers advantages. So there's two different directions their comp is going, whereas EnvyUS is very much set on just insulating Harry Hook on the high ground, using the solo healer from Chips to keep the rest of the tanks up, and then the tanks will hold the cart hard. And FNRG does end up capping this, primarily because of ult usage, and also just the, Muma's ult, I guess, is probably the biggest thing, along with the follow-up picks that happen after that. But multiple times in a row, they just don't have an effective game plan because there really isn't one that exists without ultimates for their team. Because they can't effectively clear cart, they don't have the damage to do so, they don't have the bodies to do so, Muma's not going to be able to sit on cart long enough, and they can't really go for picks for a prolonged period of time because the Widow's only going to have two options, the Soldier and the Ana, and as long as they're playing out of the sight lines and playing so that they can heal the tanks far left side of Catwalk, you're going to be fine. So really, EnvyUS has the better comp here if they play it effectively, and they do for a while. But again, I just... Overall, I don't feel like this is the most optimal way for FNRG to deal with this situation. They either need to all-in around the defending the cart, or they need to all-in around the pick strategy. And they do end up going for, if I remember right, the cart strategy a bit more with, Buds on the Reaper. But again, it's like Reaper, Winston, Tracer, Hog. It just feels like a schmitter-schmatter of heroes there, whereas like you could consolidate onto one strategy. Like there are obviously comps and setups where you want to be covering multiple bases and doing multiple things, but in this instance, I feel like you want to all in on one or the other. You either want to play cat and pick control into fight advantage on cart, or you want to play cart heavy sustain out damage. And here you go, they do end up going to the D.Va, so they recognize this a minute and a half in. It's taken them a little bit of time to kind of communicate this out. They waste some of the clock, but they do end up consolidating their comp a bit more. Muma now has a dive partner, so they can get a bit more done here. But this fight ends up going in the favor of EnvyUS pretty decently. Earthshatter does a lot of damage. Mickey follows it up. They have the nano boost. But here's kind of where the opening for FNRG exists, and this is where I do think there was a bit of a misplay, or overall, coming out of EnvyUS, right? I don't feel like you needed a nano Coco at all there. Let me double check to make sure. I'm 90% sure he had already had her shatter. No, he didn't have her shatter going into that. Would he have built it up either way? I don't feel like they should have. I mean, this is, again, hindsight 2020, knowing that they're going to lose the next fight. Would he have built it up? Possibly. It would have been close. He probably still would have built it up. It would have been later. But so here's what ends up happening. Because they nano Coco, they don't have it for the nano visor. In the next fight, Muma's going to be able to jump onto Catwalk. He's going to get slept. Taimy's going to be unable to hook him. And then they're going to go for the Soldier Visor. But they get no value because Boink has beat. And also because Cool Matt's able to get up into the Soldier's face. And Muma was able to knock down the Ana so that Harry Hook can't get healed. So you either need the damage coming out of the Nano Visor to burn the Diva out of suit during it, or to survive it, which he doesn't end up doing. Which is what you're about to see. Again, I do feel like they could have definitely held the Nano here. It's hindsight 2020, so take that with a grain of salt. But they end up losing this fight. It gets zoned off. There drops Ana. You can see she falls off onto the side. Gets sectioned off by Muma. Coco's not getting any healing, so he dies. And then Harry Hook just gets sectioned off by Cool Matt, and they end up losing this fight. There are ults going into this fight earlier that you could probably attribute that fight to as well. But again, that's kind of what I saw the first time through. Is just there was an opportunity there where either Chips doesn't need to help Harry because he's nanoed and he can self-sustain, or Ana just can't get knocked off during that visor because he has to keep Harry Hook alive so that he can be able to pierce through the Diva mech. So now the snowball occurs. Reinhardt barrier breaks last second. Harry Hook goes down because of it. Obviously, so does Coco. And now they're going to be able to snowball very effectively, and they're basically just going to go straight through for second point. And this is exactly what you need to be doing on Gibraltar. Even in your pug matches, when you win first point, you need to get aggressive, and you need to get full control of shuttle. It's like one of the most important things you can do. Cool Matt does go a bit too far up relative to the rest of his team. But when you control shuttle fully, like, these kind of plays exist where the offense is always going to be able to make the move on the defense, and the defense has to advance forward, and they have to go onto the low ground because they have to start contesting cart. And given that, you already have a natural position advantage because you're set up on the high ground, they have to fall down, you have a natural surround, and you'll be able to burn them apart. So again, always snowball here, and I'll also do this real quick. This is the catwalk above the escort next to the forklift. This is the biggest spot to maintain control of, because if they can't get out of that top left door, if they go up bottom left, they're in a funnel, they're in a choke, they're contained, easy to kill. They go up bottom right side, they're by boxes, you can set up on top of the boxes, again, easily contained, easily choked out, easily killed. So you want to ideally force them away from that top left door as much as possible into those bottom doors. Even though top left door is, again, a trap most of the time as well, it's always going to be better than the bottom doors, assuming you have pressure coming in. So now Taimu's going to go back to the Widow. Bud switches immediately to try to deal with it. And this is just a great job by EnvyUS in insulating Taimu, and Taimu just doing Taimu things. This is the benefit of having extremely strong DPS players on your team. Effect gets a pick onto Clockwork. Bud's going to win this duel very clearly. Well, not very clearly, actually. It was 2 bars for Taimu. Should check myself there before I wreck myself. But, yeah, very well done by Taimu. Wins that duel. And the pick from Effect. There's something about this fight. Is this the one where they end up using the trance? No. This isn't it at all. This is just where the visor, they use the sights. Yep, great pick by Taimu once again. Goes for the flick shot onto the enemy Widow. Couldn't get it. Bud's holding an angle. So, just good old Widow duels going on here. This is just a good example of how to play angles, sight lines, relative safety. You notice that Taimu backs off there as well, too. Like, I feel like a lot of Widows would have held this position right here. But the thing is you have to know when you see nothing coming up main that where else are they going to come from? Well, far right. What does he do? I might not be safe here anymore. You can start to see he moves a bit. He's thinking. He drops off. He throws up his Venom Mine because he's immediately thinking about that flanking option. What do you know? Hey, Diva. Hey, Winston. Guess what? I'm already gone. You wasted your cooldowns. Now my team's going to move up aggressively a bit, and then in a few seconds, I'm going to set up on the high ground. Oh, that sleep play that you guys were doing? We're going to go ahead and steal it real quick and get you out of suit. Easy kills. So, but just very good job there by Taimu. Game sense from him, very excellent there. Understanding of the game, as you would expect from Taimu himself. Clockwork is actually really scared here to duel. You notice he recalls the 110 HP actually right there, like right here. This is the difference between a Tracer that is scared to fight and a Tracer that wants to fight. He has Taimu dead to rights and sights. Obviously, you know, Lucio's shooting back at him. But right here he's going to recall because he's scared of the potential one-shot, and then he's immediately going to run. Doing this opens up free space for Taimu, and Taimu's going to go ahead and reassert out here in a second and go for some more picks. Clockwork, oh no he doesn't, he gets picked off, that's right. Good cycle of aggression there, that was right. That is a later play that this ends up happening. Similar situation, different outcome. Good job there by Muma to follow up the pressure though. Which is what needs to happen. You can never challenge pick heroes one by one. There's always a risk that you hit a huge shot as a Widow. And if you do, and they challenge you one by one, you're just going to chain them into pick after pick after pick after pick, and it's a reset fight, and you might as well have wasted your time. You have to be effective and get together when you challenge a Widow with multiple at the same time. Good card clean though. Clockwork cleans up Coco, finishes up Mickey, and then they're going to go ahead and cap with 35 seconds remaining. So overall, very strong offense from FNRG. First point, again, lackluster with the composition for the first minute and a half, but they do identify a window and they do identify a set of bolts that they can use to get in, and they do. And they're able to go ahead and cap out, and then going into last, hold on. Alright, I'm back. We'll go ahead and skip forward though. No reason to just sit here in the wait screen. And there we go. Right back into it. So pretty much standard Korean offense coming out of EnvyUS here. Diva Winston, Zen Lucio, Tracer plus a Widow. Widow can then flex off. I'm pretty sure he starts Widow here. I just watched this earlier and now I can't remember. Maybe he does come out as the Hog. Hog Winston is a little bit better than people think. No. That's right. The one thing I really do like about the setup, though, from FNRG is that they are getting creative with the map. They're using the Sombra to hack the health packs, deny the offense ground, and also, just naturally speaking, by the position of the health packs on first and second, the defense can use them pretty well between Server Room and Car Wash. Car Wash for the first fights, Server for the second. And then going into the shuttle phase, if you get full control, the Mega Room is very natural, and there's a mini that's literally sitting in dead center where you're camping anyways, which is the shuttle mini. So lots of good health packs to abuse, but Roadhog is a pretty damn good hero against Sombra. Easy picks. Effect, just doing effect things. Like, I'm pretty sure Effect just absolutely goes out of his mind this map, because there's one or two more fights in shuttle section where this is exactly what happens. He gets 3-4 picks by himself and they pretty much snowball completely out of control. But they do get reset here even after those kills. Ult-wise, they're looking really good. Notice they didn't use any. Very smart play here from EnvyUS. At least if they're going to commit ults, they should communicate it, set up combos, but if they're not going to, don't commit them. Go for dry fights, build up an ult economy, bait out one or two of the defensive ults. They might be anxious about maintaining control. You might be able to get yourself into just a disgusting ult economy early on. But here we go, again, in effect, 1 kill. I believe he gets a second one here pretty soon. And then this is where they end up capping out. No, alright, it isn't effect per se. Chime in from everyone. Of course, effect doing a lot of this damage though. This guy's tracer is just absolutely insane. Like I don't think it's at all an exaggeration to say he's definitely a top 5 tracer in the world. Like, the other thing about him too is his dueling skills, very good. One clip skills, pick potential. Like he's a complete package when it comes to the tracer play. Like a lot of other tracers, I feel like you have to settle for one kind of tracer or the other, whether it be more team play oriented, whether it be more pick oriented, aggressive oriented. But Effect just plays it all. He understands the hero very thoroughly, and he executes both sides of the hero well when he needs to. But then of course Junkrat exists, right? It's where you get the forehead plays right there. What can you do? You walk up to a Junkrat, he left clicks you, shifts real quick, and you're dead. And it's just like, oh, well, Well, that was unfortunate. Especially with a bit of netcode, you're not going to be able to hit recall at all in time. But there he comes, back into the fight, gets a pick, and they're going to go ahead and reset here. This is a really good example, though, of neutral peel abusing closer spawns as well, right? The thing is that even though EnvyUS lost heroes there, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to knock over my e-cig juice. Right here, the positions they're in, they don't need to surrender too far back if FNRG is not going to push forward, which they really can't afford to with Buds being down. And given that condition, because they don't have the damage to necessarily follow up on any kills, then EnvyUS should start slow pushing the second they get their numbers back together and they get control of the right side so that they can push into Mega. Mickey can then use that to heal, which he does, pushes forward, or he gets healed by a different Mega health pack. But again, he gets healed up, they're able to push forward, they're able to get control of the cart, and then now they start getting free push time. And to cap it all off, Timmy gets a hook pick, which is pretty huge, if I recall correctly. Very well done by the beat. Tags onto Chips, allows Chips to escape. If this is where Effect goes off. That's right. This is the other fight where Effect does a lot of work. He'll get one pick here, a second pick. He's going to help clean up on a third. Chime in on a fourth. And then also help get Bonnie right there. And that's just the effect of a good tracer. And even though, again, they're behind in numbers, they are playing this out because they can win this fight. Solely because Effect is up, and he's really unchecked right now. And they're able to recondense via main. Those who are alive can play around the Mega Health Pack. They can neutral peel back to it. Now Chips, well, he's had ult this entire time. And he's actually going to hit the EMP on both supports, if I recall correctly. And puts it in a situation where, well, Boink can ult, but he's going to ult late. And Bonnie's going to go down from it because he's not in the position to get hit by it. And just the whole way these fights go down is slightly off for FNRG. Just a second or two behind on ultimate usage or on positioning plays. Because EnvyUS never really lets off the pressure, right? They never really disengage from this fight. They're always playing that Mega Health Pack and abusing it. And once they get the correct neutral peel into the position they want, then they just let Effect finish off targets. They push forward, dealing spam damage, call Discord targets, Taimu does some damage, Effect goes and finishes it off, and then you just get into these situations where you have to stall onto carts. So really well done there by EnvyUS in shuttle section. Obviously not nearly as effective as the snowball that you saw out of FNRG, but EnvyUS didn't really have afforded as much opportunity for that snowball, considering they made a hero switch and considering also that they didn't have the same kind of wipe ults like a tire that FNRG had access to. So FNRG ends up holding EnvyUS here. Actually, pretty well played by them. In the end, they end up having very solid ult economy. They end up putting effect in check, if I recall correctly. And basically, it's just a slugfest, but one where FNRG is able to consistently maintain high ground control and never really surrender it to the offense, which is kind of like the key goal of the offense here. If you're running Soldier or any sort of mid-range, long-range damage, your primary goal is going to be able to push up and get control of high ground, because if you can get your Soldier set up there, people on cart, it's been said before many a times, but double bind. Either A, check the cart and stop the push, or B, check the damage and stop the Soldier. But the Soldier's on a different spot than the high ground, so you can't do both at the same time, and if you do one or the other is going to bite you in the ass. So as long as you properly place these double binds in your strategy consistently, you're going to put yourself in a lot of good positions, because that just forces reaction, right? That's the whole goal of double binds too. And it's something I'll probably want to just do a whole strat watch on at some point, but whenever you put somebody in a double bind, you force a reaction. And you force a reaction in a way that you want. That's the key thing. Right? Obviously, they have to check cart, they have to check Soldier. We just went over that. But you want them to do one or the other, and you're prepared for both. And as long as you're constantly setting up those kind of, again, double binds in your strategies, you're always going to be forcing reaction out of your opponents that you have already premeditated and can effectively answer to more quickly than you would in a world where you're reacting to things that you did not predict or did you not premeditate. So again, double binds in your play and your strategy, very important, and in your tactics, and something that you can see a lot of them occur at high level play when you look for them. And again, it's just forcing a team into an either or, where you can take an advantage no matter the choice they make. In fact, getting zoned off. Very good. Yeah, Boink doing a much better job here. Boink's actually playing really well here too. But definitely keeping effect in check between Quim and Coolmat right there. Good job. They go ahead and use the visor to clean up some kills, and now it's down to last fight. And I think this is an example of this next fight of why EnvyUS is just an absolutely incredible team. They're not going to win this fight, but they're going to give themselves a window that literally never should have existed. And I'll get to that in just a second. It's going to come basically down to chips. So the Diva Bomb goes out, zones out, Mickey loses mech from it. Time is going to go ahead and pop visor. Oh, sorry, it was back here. It was back here. I remember this. It was right here. Yes. It's right here. So this is probably an opportunity that just should have never happened. But the clear communication between them is really good. They understand that this fight is lost immediately. Look at both of the tanks' HP right now. Chips is going to heal up Coco, or Mickey, just to be safe. While Coco is probably... you leave Coco at lower HP. Oh, he does it the other way. You should do it the other way. There's really no reason to heal up Coco first, because worst case scenario, he presses Q and he lives. That's fine. But they do clearly communicate this lost fight. They get out effectively. Lucio, 64% ult, able to come back, and he's going to base heal all the way out. Notice they're walking slow. He's on base speed now, switches to heal, amps heal in the middle of this fight so that he gets effectiveness out of the healing to get Coco up to top, Mickey up to top, and also gets himself a beat. Taimu has visor the entire time, is going to hold on to it, and is going to wait for Harry Hook to end up beating, which they all hide for this Diva Bomb, and then here comes the beat visor. Most teams would have probably fumbled that, given the situation. Maybe the tanks decide to die on cart. But again, the clarity of communication that is needed in that moment to say, hey, I'm 64% ult. If you guys stay alive, I can heal off of you and get beat. We can do then a beat visor play. Like, just me saying that in that amount of time, it's very hard to get that to clearly communicate across. So, you know, accolades to EnvyUS there. As again, that's a situation where I feel like a lot of weaker teams, without the synergy or coordination, communication, would not have been able to pull off that play. And, well, wouldn't have made it look nearly as close on that last fight as it was, and it just would have been a walkover. So, But yeah, that basically does it for this VoD review between FNRG and EnvyUS. Again, I will be uploading this to YouTube, but thank you everyone who watched live and everyone who followed. I really appreciate it. It's really awesome of you guys. I'm going to continue to do these live. I really appreciate, or I really apologize for how choppy this was. It's the first time I've done a VoD review in a while, especially live on stream, where I was also watching chat and trying to pay attention to some feedback, etc. So hopefully going forward, I get much better at them, and they become much more effective and enjoyable for you guys. But again, any feedback, comments, really appreciate it. I will be uploading this to YouTube. YouTube.com/user/DotaRaptors is where you can find, or RaptorZ Gaming, sorry, is where you can find all of my YouTube content, and it'll be going up there if you missed it. But otherwise, again, guys, thank you so much for following. Thank you so much for watching. I will be taking a quick 5-minute